Hey guys, I'm going to take a couple minutes and just tell you about my favorite place in the world, which is Antarctica. So my name is Sam. I'm a friend of your teacher. And the reason why I went to Antarctica is because I was sitting eating lunch with a friend at college, and we thought, you know what'd be fun is if we broke a world record and became the first people to kayak all the way to Antarctica and back. Uh, Turns out that's impossible, as I discovered later. The only way to get there, I'm going to show you a little map, is by crossing this strip of water called the Drake Passage, which is some of the craziest waters on Earth. You have huge 15-foot tall swelling waves all the way across, and if you try to get there any other way than like a real boat, you'd probably die. So didn't do that. But there's three different ways actually you can get there. You can get there from Australia and cross a passage there, or from South Africa, or from South America, which is the way that I ended up going. So you get to Argentina, and there's a little tiny city at the bottom of the world called El Fin del Mundo, which literally means the end of the world. And then from there, I hopped on a big ship and took it down. It took 3 days to cross over from the bottom of South America down to Antarctica. And as you start going down, it gets colder and colder and colder. And at about day 2, you can look out and you start seeing icebergs everywhere. And you're still not to Antarctica. That's how you know it's getting cold, is when you see big, huge chunks of floating ice. So someone asked, how cold does it get? And that's from Lena and Olivia. So how cold does it get? So think of a hot summer day. It's 95 to 100 degrees. And then water freezes at about 32 degrees. And then your freezer, if you were to live inside of your freezer, that's 0 degrees. Antarctica, the coldest temperature recorded was there, and it is negative 128 degrees. So think of the temperature difference between a hot summer day to your freezer and go further than that in coldness, and that's how cold it can get in Antarctica. And so when I was there, it was probably a little bit colder than the freezer. But they give you big, huge coats and things like that. And I don't know, and it's nice and sunny. There wasn't much wind, but very, very, very cold. Next question. Oh, you guys had some questions about the animals. Did I discover any new species? Cardston asks. New to me, for sure. I thought going down to Antarctica that it would be mostly ice and not much life, but there's animals everywhere. So the new species to me that I wasn't expecting were, I forgot what they're called. I'm gonna look it up and put it in the video. But I think they're killer whales, the big black ones that jump out of the water with their fins. Orcas? And then they chase orcas, yeah. And they chase after the penguins. And so penguins actually jump out of the water like dolphins too. So we had a big flock, I don't know if that's the word, all these penguins jumping out of the water as we got closer to Antarctica. And then we had this big killer whale chasing after him, jumping out also. And then it caught up to them, and I think it might have eaten some of the penguins. So anyways, that was new to me. Other species that there are, you have really cool jellyfish all in the water. And then there are other kinds of whales too. I need to look up the names for these ones too. All I have is my memories of what it looked like. But there's these big, huge whales that jump out of the water, and it looks like in slow motion, and then they do a backflip, and then they land. And then they also have really cool birds, and of course, penguins, penguins, penguins. Thousands and thousands and thousands of penguins everywhere, all over the icebergs, all over these little islands that we would visit, just penguins everywhere. Oh, and then seals, of course. So I'll show some pictures of those different animals. Brooklyn asks, what is the most friendly animal there in Antarctica? The penguins. So in most places in the world, animals have evolved to be very afraid of humans because we eat animals and have hunted them for thousands and thousands of years. But in Antarctica, there haven't been people there very long. So, and we've been very careful, scientists and explorers, to not do anything harmful to the penguins. So because of that, they don't have any fear of us. So you can sit down on the ground and the penguins will walk right up to you. You're not supposed to touch them, but they come up and touch you because they just think, oh, what is this strange thing? So they're about as tall as your knee, and they'll waddle up to you, and then they'll just start walking in circles around you, and they're very, very friendly. In fact, on one of the little lifeboats that we took as we were exploring around one of the icebergs, a penguin jumped out of the water and landed inside the boat and started saying hello to the different people, and then jumped back into the water. Kylie asks, is it Killy or Kylie? I hope I didn't say your name wrong. Does the ice melt? Yes, it does. So Antarctica is like a giant ice cube in a sense that gets smaller and bigger throughout the year. So in wintertime, when it gets really cold, it doubles in size, and it's impossible to get there by boat because it's so big and all the water freezes out. But then over summer, it melts down to only half the size, and then that's when you can get down there and you can take boats. And then they have they're not cities, but they have little research stations where scientists live in Antarctica. So you get there over summer and you can join the research base, and then you're trapped there for all of winter, and then you do your research, and then over summer you can get out again. Unless you take a plane, which is kind of rare and very expensive because it's so far. Is the water too cold for whales? Asks Valera. No, it is not. Saw some really cool whales. I'll include some pictures of those. And then Amber asks, is there any water that isn't frozen? And the answer was yes, and that's the water that you take your boats through. So another interesting thing about the water and the ice, and then we'll wrap up with this, is they have these humongous ice cliffs, and they, as the water's melting, because I went down in summer, well, it's opposite seasons there, so it was wintertime for me, it was December, but it's summertime down there, because it's the other hemisphere. But the ice cliffs will melt, and so huge chunks of the cliffs will break off and go falling into the water and create these big waves that can tip over your lifeboat. So you have to be very careful that you take your big boat that has the lifeboats that come off of it close by these cliffs, and then you look at the island that you're trying to go to, and then you get off on the little lifeboats and you go there. But you go very, very quickly that way if any of the ice chunks. So while I was there, we heard, it sounded multiple times like as loud as like thunder. It was just boom. And then you would see these humongous cliffs of ice, and an entire section of it would go and then make huge waves. And at one point, actually, there was a little family of penguins at the bottom of it, and all of this giant ice cliff went falling onto this family of penguins, and we said no. But one of them lived. I don't know if maybe they were still alive under there, but one of them went hopping out of the ice and went waddling off, and we thought, oh dear, that's very scary. So you have to be careful of the ice cliffs if you ever go. Anyways, that was a little bit of my experience in Antarctica, and I hope that helps you in what you're learning right now.